Good day, everybody. I hope you're doing well. We are going to talk today about this week is going to be a theme of joy. And I think that is something that so many of us are missing when we have have these contentious relationships with food and with body. And so the week is going to be about joy and how to recultivate that, and how are we going to do it today with food. So I'm your host, I'm Tracy Brown. I'm a somatic nutrition dietitian and a tuning specialist, and we are going to sit out here today on my back porch and enjoy the less humid conditions, hear some birds talking. We'll see how it goes, but thank you all so much for coming live who are here live, and for those who catch the recording, if this is your first video, welcome. If you've watched many before, you know that if you have questions or concerns, just tag me below. You can email me at tracybrownrd@gmail.com. And let's get started. So I'm going to be enjoying my coffee, and I'm feeling a little itchy. So you all know that I'm itchy sometimes, so I itch my head. So let's talk about joy. We're going to talk about joy of eating today. Joy is one of those things, I don't know if you'll be surprised. I'm a pretty optimistic person and enjoy a lot of little things in life, but I've also had just as many times in my life, and not as much in the last 20 years for sure. But there's been lots of different ways of it in my life, and especially when I was younger, that I didn't have much of a relationship with joy. Things were kind of about survival and looking good and doing the right thing. And, that does zap you, kind of makes you a little dry inside of enjoying things that are going well and things that are inherently good. And I would say that what would fall into that place is food. And we are wired to enjoy food. Food tastes good. Even food that we don't prefer, somebody else really loves in some part of the country or the world. And so I want us to really think about how we would really benefit from taking more time to cultivate joy with our eating. And so that can look a lot of different ways. And I'm going to start from the beginning of the timeline that I can think about when I started getting more joyful with food. Now, I grew up honestly having a pretty decent relationship with food until I was a teenager. And I would consider myself not a foodie per se, but I like food. And there were some meals that I really enjoyed, and some meals I'm like, I'm going to eat enough to, get by. Kind of a pretty intuitive eater as a kid. So I would say I liked food. And when there was something I really liked it. And if there's something that, we all know people, and maybe you're one of those who deep down in your heart, you're a foodie and you love food and you love experimenting and you love the art of it. If you are one of those, I would love to see a little heart, because I want you to embrace that. That is going to really help you become a more attuned eater. So if you're a foodie, I would love to hear or see that, because you have a lot to teach others and yourself about really enjoying food. And so, but all that being said, you don't have to be like a foodie. You don't have to be somewhere in the middle like me. And even if you don't love food that much, I get curious about it if that has been pushed out of you a bit because of food rules, because of worries about your weight, because of being criticized for how you ate, what you ate, all those kind of things. If you've been criticized, that can zap your joy. And I'm hoping some of you decide today by listening to this, hey, it's normal to enjoy food. Where did that go? And how deep are those roots? And where did that come from? And I want to reclaim that. I think that's super important to say, wait a minute. Nobody else gets to say, if when I eat my food and roll their eyes about that, or if you've been criticized, or changing my arms. This arm's getting tired. Nobody else gets to say. And I want us to think about reclaiming that. And if that's been an issue, I want you to start to think about a food that you used to really enjoy eating and the way you used to like to eat it. Do you like to take a spoon and dip in the Nutella and that's just hit the spot, and really enjoy that? If you, make noises when you eat out of pleasure, then be cool with that. That there's not a problem with that. where I notice is some of that, and for me, where I started reclaiming joy was at the beginning of my recovery, and a lot of that is, excuse me, good morning, embrace recovery. A lot of things that could be, or something that could be really helpful at the beginning is kind of making this decision of, you know what, I'm going to eat regularly. And this is something that really helped me. I'm going to eat regularly, probably 3 to 6 times a day at least. And one, I might as well learn what I like and who I really, really, really am as an eater. And two, enjoy this food because I'm going to do it anyway. And especially if I don't let myself have what I like or enjoy or what my body really needs, I'm going to get it in the back end anyway. I knew at that point in my recovery, where I was in my own eating, different morphs of eating disorders, that, I had passed that point where I made this decision, like, okay, I'm not going to live this way and I'm going to fight. When I had made that kind of decision, it's like the eating disorder, and you're like, uh-oh. Okay, so we're not going to all just mostly restrict right now, are we? We're not going to diet anymore. We are going to have to play different games and switch things around. And so I had to kind of play the next offensive game, which is like, okay, I'm going to eat anyway. And I know what's going to happen if I don't enjoy this food or have something in this meal that was satisfying. I know what's going to happen. I'm going to binge. So let's just work around that little issue by deciding that, like, there's going to be something in every meal that I really enjoy, whether it's like the flavor, like if the meal's a little because I buy groceries, that means my coffee needs to be really good. Or if I know that I'm really in a bread phase, well, I need to go get some really good bread, and let's go get what I can afford, if it's a different brand or if it's even at a fancy bakery, and spend a couple extra bucks if I can to make these meals more satisfying and joyful. Then I have won, and that's what we want. So another part that was really helpful for me was purposely doing variety so I could learn. And I know sometimes when you're cooking ahead and trying to, prep for a long week or whatever you're doing, sometimes a little variety gets a little interesting sometimes, but variety can happen in your snacks. Not do the same snack that you did. If you have a whole cupboard full of different kinds of like crackers and trail mixes and cookies, have a different thing. If you always have the same thing at your morning snack, your afternoon snack, or whatever, just purposely vary it, just for the sake of like, oh, that was a nice surprise. There's a little joy right there, and that's something really important. I'll cover 2 more topics real quick on the joy of food today. Is that, again, if you get a chance to get around some littles, especially babies who are learning to eat, oh my goodness, they really enjoy the food, and when they don't, they don't. And I love that line in the sand that they have of like, oh, I'm really loving these peaches. They're so good. Or bananas or whatever they're loving. And if they're like, oh, green beans, not having it, you can't make them eat that. You can't make them eat it. And I want you to have that strongest stance with yourself around eating things that work and that you really like. It's really important. Another thing that I've rediscovered with joy recently is with cooking is my daughter. She's getting old enough where she's like, I want to cook and I want to do stuff and I want to make the meal. So pretty much every, she's 8.5 now and doing pretty good. This last 6 months, that's been her thing. And so she's got 2 or 3 meals now she can make actually very competently for our whole family. It's really fun. And that's kind of reignited in me a little bit of joy of like, oh, it does build confidence in us. It does feel good to be able to make a meal that nourishes you and that it takes care of you, and that at some level maybe you're taking care of others. I mean, that can actually be a good thing. I know if you're constantly the only one cooking, it can get to be a little bit of a job, and especially if you're a mom, and it doesn't even matter if you're feeding other people. Just consistently cooking and shopping and all those kind of things, it can get a little joyless sometimes. So my suggestion is, is that because of maybe we've forgotten actually how to enjoy eating what we're making, then we've forgotten the joy of the process. whether it's eating or cooking. If we're feeling really overwhelmed, that means we probably need to take a break somewhere else in our life so there's some room to enjoy this really simple pleasure. But anyway, you might consider being around littles, and whether it's the little ones learning how to eat, if it's some little bit older, younger ones learning how to cook. But they enjoy just all the little things of making something happen. There's a lot of joy there. So I want you to think about just inherently what it means to be able to make something that nourishes and feeds yourself. And if you're getting bored, that means we need to have some more stuff, in your repertoire. So start finding one new thing, or think back to when you really had a lot more joy with eating. What is something that you used to really love? Whether that's lasagna, making homemade cookies. It could be something simple as like a big platter of all kinds of very easy to just cut up and put on a plate things and have it in front of you that's maybe made in a pretty way. So those are some suggestions I have. And lastly, I think when we are still working on dismantling that, this last little bits of oppression around that I don't deserve to eat because of my size or because I was criticized, I know that zaps the joy from a lot of our eating. I want you to consider this if you're in that place. Is it inherently, remember, you were made, born to eat and to enjoy it. We don't enjoy everything, but we do have joy about something or some things, and it's there. And can we at least orient towards it when it happens? So let's say that you're watching this and I don't really love eating, I dread it, I fear being hungry, I don't want to deal with it. That's not all of who you are. That's something that has been in place to protect you from things that are more tender or feeling like a lot. There still is a part of you that if you eat the food, even if you don't always love the process, if you let yourself taste it and what it's like, you might find that okay, I can't deny this is true. And can I orient towards this and make this part of me stronger, because that's real too. So either part of me might dread this, but there is a little spark in there that's like, oh, that raisin toast was good. Or, oh, even though I'm really tired and I'm not feeling great about this, that melted cheese on this thing, the texture of that was good. And if you can let yourself just acknowledge that little spark of pleasure, and which could be turned into joy, you might find that you get some momentum. That I was born to be okay with food. I really was. I really was. All right, I would love to hear your comments, your questions, your successes around joy with eating. If you take any of these tips, if you take any of these suggestions and you run with it, please let me know. We'd love to hear about that. We all here this community here, we're going to be strengthened by not being, let's be a pack. Us lone wolves don't always get as far as we could without each other. So please leave your comments. If you're in an intuitive eating support group watching this, tell us how you're going to move forward with this. If you are currently in Attuned Eating for Attuned Living, or you are going to be in the new Peaceful Eating community coming up, I'm hoping this week it's ready. We had some technical stuff on Friday. I couldn't launch it, but hopefully we're done this week. If you're interested in that, please stay posted. It's coming. And but that's going to be a place where we're going to do a lot of this kind of work as well, in a very personal kind of way, because we're going to have a password protected space for that. So all right, thank you all for now. And if you have more questions, or if there's something I missed, there's more videos coming up. So Wednesday and Friday, let's talk more about pleasure with movement and our bodies this week. All right, because again, these things were designed to be pleasurable, and we need to start recultivating joy where it is, acknowledging where it is now, so that when it happens, you can notice it, and we got to run with it. That's just the way it is. All right, I'll talk to y'all real soon. Take care. Bye.